Hello everyone, my name is the Chemist77 and welcome to episode 23 of Farming Minecraft. Now, last episode we built our little shulker farm over there, and which is very good. And I must admit, I was very surprised to see just before I went to bed that evening a comment from ending credits underneath the video saying that they liked my explanation. And yeah, so I was very shocked at that, and but pleasantly surprised. So yeah, I mean, big thank you to ending credits, and I'm glad you enjoyed the video and explanation. So yeah, now today we are building a tree farm. Now this is a 5 wood tree farm, so this does acacia, jungle, spruce, oak, and birch. And I designed this one myself, which I was very pleased with. I've seen a few sort of 5 tree farms around on YouTube, but the ones that I saw at least didn't really work properly in 1.19. So I thought, well, I'll sit down and design one that does. So I did just that, and that is how it turned out. Yeah, doing things slightly differently for the next couple episodes. Basically, I'm going to be away next week, so I need to sort of get ahead so I can pre-record an episode for what will be next week's episode. So I've already built this. I built this up on a stream that would be yesterday at the time of recording, last week at the time of this coming out. But I did replay mod it, so we can indeed see a time lapse, which will go, hopefully, assuming it didn't corrupt, right here. So yeah, as we saw in the time lapse, hopefully, we built up this tree farm. Now, one thing I may have forgotten about is the fact that oak trees drop apples. So when I was designing this farm, so there's this slightly janky filter system here that filters out sticks and apples. Fortunately, I don't really use too much oak when I'm building things, so I shouldn't need that much. Now, this one thing I should mention is while this does work for jungle, always keep a few jungle saplings back because if you know, jungle saplings are a nightmare to get from the leaves, and yeah, it's so yeah, always keep some back so you can grow some more trees, which is why there's a little 2x2 of dirt there. So all we need to do, if I pick a tree, a type of tree rather, say spruce, we'll pick a few saplings out. I shouldn't need that many because what should happen is they should come into this dropper, all the saplings, and then each time a tree grows, I get deposited a sapling again. Now, one thing I do need to do before I start doing this with spruce is take it out of oak mode. So this light here means that it's in oak mode, and all I have to do is press this button, and what will happen is it will retract this block. So there's a triple piston extender here, and it will retract this block as well. And what that does is basically take it out of oak mode. Now this is oak mode because we need to limit the height of the tree so we don't get all the crazy big trees, because that then breaks the farm, which is bad. And so we put this block here to limit the height, and then we need to put this block here, which stops these top 2 layers of pistons firing. And what that does is that stops this block essentially getting pushed out of the way. So if I press this button, we should see triple piston extender goes and this block has been retracted. So now all I need to do is first of all check the bone meal levels, which are these chests just here. You can see we've got plenty in there, and I've got a shulker box with some bone blocks in there in case we run out. And we'll see well, apples will eventually be coming in here, and then my janky filter system means that the the sticks end up over there. So if I flick this on switch and aim just at that log there, we should also see TNT duper starts going. And if I hold down right click, or indeed turn my hold use on, we should see blocks get pushed and then they get blown up. Now, sometimes as you can see here, the blocks do get stuck. It's a bit unfortunate, but for the most part, we do get logs coming down. What also happens occasionally, and I'm not quite sure why, I think it might be because if I turn on chunk borders, I accidentally built the dupers across 2 chunks where the TNT explodes. Sometimes you do get nothing, and I think what that is just, they go like there. I think the game is calculating the TNTs exploding a fraction of time apart. But yeah, I might try and play around with duper times. I might even try if I can get it to work with 1. If I can get it to drop in the right place. So yeah, which would then obviously guarantee that there's not 2 bits of TNT exploding at different times. Also, what seems to have happened is I'm not placing saplings. Oh, because I have my shield equipped. There we go. It's this is definitely not a scuffed start to a video. So as we can see here, there we go. These are getting pushed out. Unfortunately, yep, getting stuck on the blocks there, but it's not loads to do about it. And honestly, with this farm, you can just sit here. And as you can see, our logs, there goes some, come down here, and then end up in the relevant filter. Now, if I go up the top here, we can see sort of how it works quite quickly. So we grow a sapling like that. This double piston extender here pushes the logs out. And then all these pistons on the side crush the leaves. And that's what gives us our saplings back. And also gets us some sticks. And in the case of oak trees, apples. However, it is a bit difficult to see what's going on here. You can see all the redstone underneath. So what I'm going to do is let that tree grow. There we go. Turn the farm off. And head into a creative world where I can stop the game and advance it ticks at a time. Now technically I can do it in this world, but I don't particularly want to do that in the actual survival world. Feels a little bit cheaty to me. So even though I'm not actually doing it for any benefit. So let's head into a creative world and I can show how this works in a bit more detail. Okay, so I'm here in my creative test world where I have all of my farms. So as you can see in front of me here, this is my tree farm that we've just built. And I've got a few other things around and about. There's the dripstone farm. There's an ice farm I've been working on just over there. And yeah, so one of the first challenges I came across with this farm was making it acacia compatible. So as you can see over here, acacia trees tend to grow in slightly awkward configurations with the branches sticking out to the side, and they can go on any 4 sides. The other other complication that this leads to is the fact that acacia trees need a 5x5 area of space completely unobstructed from blocks. The exception being around this first block here, which is how we can use the dispenser to bone meal it. Now, the way I've solved this is using a double piston extender just here. And you may notice that there are still blocks within this 5x5 area around the dirt block, which we can see just around there. And that is because there are two exceptions to that rule, and that is log blocks and leaf blocks. So that is why we're using mangrove logs here, and then these leaves have just generated from the use of the farm. And so there's sort of two reasons for the mangrove logs here. There's these two bits here, and what this does is this forces the acacia trees to only grow branches in sort of this plane along here, and that's easy because then they can just get pushed out like this. So there's just a little hole through here where all the logs get pushed out of, and then we have this set of logs here, and these are the logs for our double piston extender. So they first get pushed over this hopper, and then they get pushed over this dirt block, which obviously pushes the logs out. And I'll turn the farm on in a bit, and I'll slow the game down, just so you can see a little bit easier what's going on. Okay, so I've got an acacia sapling, and all I've got to do is try and squish myself into this corner and aim just at the backside of that log there, and that means I can place a sapling just there. Now, I'm going to do a command. This is with the carpet mod that lets me slow the game down. So I'm going to go /tick rate. Now, that defaults to 20 there because that's the default speed that the game runs at. And instead, I'm going to do 2. So this means that the game is going to be running at 10% the original speed. So if I go into free cam, we can see ever so slowly what happens. So I'm going to flick the lever, and we should eventually see bone meal start firing, and eventually a tree should grow. There we go. So the tree's grown. This fires along here, which then lights all of this redstone up. And if we come to the top, we can see the pistons fire, which break the leaves. These get sent up because of the scaffolding here gets triggered. And then the pistons come back. So if I position myself just over here, I use a hotkey that means I hold my place down. We should keep being able to see this. So we saw the pistons work for the double piston extender. And if we sit here again, eventually when another tree grows, you can see the TNT go in there. Okay, so another tree has grown, so we should see that go. And that changes the state on the scaffolding, which is what fires these corner pistons. And we can see again, the double piston extender is retracting. And then these observers fire these pistons one more time, which brings the block back there. Now, the keen-eyed among you might have seen something a little bit out of the ordinary with the redstone on this, and that is a half-eaten cake. And what this is doing is changing the length of this pulse extender here, which affects the speed on this double piston extender here, because this one is really important because of how it pushes the logs out, but also because it needs to actually grab these logs back. So these ones here just need to have the pistons fire and get pulled back, whereas this one is a little bit more tricky because it has these extra blocks here. Now, how does it affect the pulse extender? Well, I've got a little setup just down here to show you. So this is the basic setup for a pulse extender. If I fire this button here, and actually if I get an unextended pulse, just like so, if I press this button, you'll notice that there's a little bit of decay on here. And so what's happening is the comparator is detecting, in this case, a signal in here of however much, 10, which then spits out 10 here, which goes to 11. 9 here. This comparator spits out 9, which goes to 8, which then gets spit out here. 8 goes to 7, and whilst all that's going on, this redstone lamp here is being changed. Now, the way comparators work is there's two modes. There's compare mode, which is with the light off, and then there's subtract, which is with the light on. Now, in compare mode, if I grab a lever, it takes the power coming into the back and compares it with whatever's coming into the side. So if what's coming into the side is less than what's coming into the back, then it'll just carry on outputting. However, if it's more, then it'll turn off. And the way subtract works is it will take what's coming into the back and subtract what's coming into the side from it, or side from it here. So if I turn this like this, we get an output of 2 because 14 minus 12 is 2. And say I do that, it turns it to 13, which becomes 1. And if I get it to 15, it becomes 0. Again as well, if I put this all the way along here and did that, we've got 7 coming in, 14 coming here, and so it makes 7. Now, for this case, we're not using subtract mode, we're just using in compare with the light off. And the fun thing about this is you can use comparators to take an output from a cake. If I put a cake here, the comparator lights up, and we get a signal strength of 14. And each slice of the cake we eat decreases the signal strength by 2. And so what we're using for our pulse extender is a signal strength of 10. That's I guess it's technically a not quite half-eaten cake. And you'll see, obviously, as soon as what's coming into the back here gets below the signal strength of 10, this will turn off. And so you can see this light here should turn off before that one. I'll get rid of that so that's not distracting. And there you go, our one on the right turned off before the one on the left. And you can change how this works. So if we do a full cake, it should turn off quicker, because the signal strength is higher here, so it takes less time for it to turn off. And if I go lower, say down to, what is that, 6, I think, it should turn off, yeah, very slow, like that. And so that's how we're using the cake to control how long this pulse extender is for. Of course, you don't need to use cake. You could use a hopper with some items in, or basically any sort of container with items in will work just fine. If I grab a chest here and fill it with, sure, let's do cakes. That's giving an output of 6. If we had a few more in, okay, we can get an output of 8. And it has the exact same effect. But cakes are far more fun. And yeah, so that is how the tree farm works. I've been debating whether to do a like full-on block-by-block tutorial on this. So if you'd like to see that, then leave a comment. I sort of put this together based off a few designs that I've seen of like acacia compatible tree farms, but they don't work in 1.19. At least the ones that I looked at. That might be others out there. So if I've missed those, I do apologize. And if they're basically the same as this, I also do apologize. I think tree farms are a pretty standard design. So yeah, when I say I designed this myself, it means that I didn't follow a tutorial to build this. I sat down in creative and thought, okay, let's build a tree farm that works with acacia trees. So, yeah, just a disclaimer here. There will probably be a lot of other farms that look similar to this out there, but I've not looked at them to build this. So if I have accidentally copied someone, then I do apologize. So yeah, but I'm going to leave the video there for today. I've got to record next week's episode basically after I finish recording this, because I'm going to be away for a week over Easter, just visiting family. And yeah, then I'll just be back. So there shouldn't be any missed episodes unless something crazy happens in the over the course of this week. Yeah, that'll do it for today. We've built the first of 4 tree farms we're going to be doing over the next few episodes. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.